Our next speaker is Beate Pinior. Is Beate here? Here she is. Beate's from Austria, and she's going to speak on an economic evaluation of bovine viral diarrhea virus control activities worldwide, a systemic review.
Yes, thank you for the introduction, and I'm also pleased to speak in front of a worldwide audience today. In the next 10 minutes, I would like to answer with you the following questions regarding production losses caused by BVD. First, for which countries were production losses economically assessed? We have also analyzed the country-specific assessments. What does it mean? I give you an example. If a study aimed to calculate the production losses of Ireland, but used the production losses per animal of New Zealand and multiplied these losses by the number of the cattle of Ireland, then we classified this study into the category not country-specific assessments were provided. The next question was, which type of production losses were economically assessed? How high were the production losses? At which level were the direct losses quantified? The term level incorporates the national level, the regional level, or farm level, whereby the farm level includes also the calculation per animal or per herd. At which production systems were the direct losses measured, such as dairy, beef, or cows and young stock systems? We have also analyzed the initial conditions of the herd, the study type, which can cover modeling studies or experimental studies or descriptive studies. We distinguish between quantitative versus qualitative studies, and we have also analyzed the economic and statistical methods of these studies. In the second step, we will focus on the questions regarding control activities. For instance, for which countries were control activities economically assessed? We have also analyzed the type of control activities, which were assigned into three main categories: epidemiology, which cover, for instance, movement restrictions or biosecurity measures or eradication strategies, etc. Diagnostics include economic comparison of different diagnostic methods, or the determination of the optimal number of pooled samples in order to identify PI animals with the minimum costs, and vaccination. Further, I would like to discuss for which countries calculations of the efficiency of BVD control activities are available. Does the calculations demonstrate that their expenses or efforts of BVD control activities at national, regional, or farm level are economically justified? And the next important question is, who bear the costs of BVD control activities? We have also investigated the hypothesis that countries which are recording estimates of production losses were most likely to also implement control activities at national or regional level. Yeah, and we will find the answer to all our questions if we look at the scientific literature. We use three different databases, Scopus, Web of Science, and Easy Web of Knowledge, in order to identify scientific literature regarding BVD economics. From the year 1970 to the beginning of 2015. And we use 20 different keywords, such as BVD combined with eradication, with cost-benefit analysis, with production losses, etc. And in total, we found 856 studies, whereby approximately half of these studies were duplicates or were excluded due to predefined exclusion criteria. In total, we read 487 studies, whereby 65 studies economically assessed BVD production losses, and 134 articles economically assessed BVD control activities. Now we come to the results. Of the 65 studies which economically assess BVD production losses, Approximately half of these studies were identified as modeling studies. And we can see that 65 studies covers 15 countries which quantitatively assess BVD production losses. The majority of the economic assessments were performed in Europe, dominated by the United Kingdom, in Scotland, and Germany. Non-European countries, such as the United States, New Zealand, Canada, and Australia, made up 30% of the studies. And if we look at this figure, the blue color shows that 88% of the studies provides a calculation in the category country-specific assessments. But we have also exceptions, such as in Austria, where we only find not country-specific assessments of BVD production losses. The next question was, how many of these countries were performed at national, regional, or farm level? And the answer we will find in this figure. The farm level were 5 times more frequently assessed than the national level. Only 4 countries provides a calculation at the national level. But this number will be increased if we take also the gray bars into account, because the gray bars covers more than one of these levels. And if we take the gray bars also into account, then we will find also calculations of the production losses at the national level in France, Hungary, Ireland, and United States. If we analyze the amount of production losses for the 15 countries, it looks like this. We can see a map which represents Europe, and some countries are colored. The different colors represent the different monetary values of the production losses, which range from few US dollars to 700 US dollars. And the gray color shows the fact that no data are available. And these both figures show the production losses per animal per year, differentiated in minimum and maximum costs. And we can see for some countries, such as Netherlands, that the estimates of production losses range from few US dollars to 700 US dollars per animal in the same study. The figures below show the same scheme, but at national or regional level, and the Scala scale range from few US dollars to 100 million US dollars. But the comparison of the production losses across the countries are very difficult, for instance, due to the different number of cattle. We found also production losses for North America and maritime region of Canada, and also for New Zealand. If we take a look at the different type of production losses, then we can see that the direct losses are distributed more or less equally, with the exception of immune suppression. If we analyze the amount, or if we analyze the outcome of the studies, we can see that the majority of the studies provides the production losses in detail. This means for these production losses, we will find also a monetary value in the outcome of the studies. But we have also a lot of studies which provide the production losses in general. These studies provide only one summarized value for all these considered production losses. Additionally, we have analyzed the initial conditions of the herds, where the production losses were estimated. And we can see that the majority of the studies consider a mix of naive and infected herds. We have also identified that the dairy production systems were 3 times more likely to be accessed than the beef production systems, and 8 times more likely than the calves and young stock production systems. And by the way, the beef production systems were primarily assessed by the United States and United Kingdom. If we analyze the last criteria and analyze the applied statistical and economic methods, then we can see that the majority of the studies only describes the production losses by using of tabular overviews of the cost. Only few studies use cost-benefit analysis or partial budget analysis or other methods such production theory. Now we come to the control activities. The different colored lines in this chord diagram represent the 134 different studies which economically assess BVD control activities. One color is associated with an individual study. And these studies were assigned to a specific country. And the countries are shown here with their abbreviations. And the countries' abbreviations with the large letter represent countries for which quantitative assessments are available. And the connections between the economic assessments of each country with the individual study and the corresponding area in which the assessment was conducted is shown. For instance, if we take France into account, then we will find only here one study, colored in pink, which economically assess control activities in the area of epidemiology and diagnostic. United States carried out the most economic assessments in the area of diagnostics, whereby United Kingdom often assessed the cost of vaccination strategies, in contrast to other countries such as Norway. But we will find more information in this chord diagram. For instance, we find different thickness of the lines, exactly 4 different thicknesses. Thickest lines represent well-designed economic studies, provide more detailed data, more quantitative values. All qualitative studies are shown with gray thin lines. And in total, we found here 45 studies of the 134 studies, which are well-designed studies, which provide quantitative assessments. Now we come to our last question. Only 10% of the 134 studies calculated the efficiency of BVD control activities, compare the cost and benefits. And the majority of the studies were performed at the farm levels. Our systematic review identified only 4 countries, Norway, France, Ireland, and Switzerland, that demonstrate that the implementation and the inherent cost of hypothetical or already implemented control activities at the national level would be economically justified at a specific time period. And United Kingdom, for instance, showed that the control activities at national level would not be economically justified. And our systematic review identified that the farmer and farmers' organizations were the main payers of BVD control activities. And now I would like to finish my presentation with the conclusion that our assumptions that countries which are recording production losses are also likely to carry out control activities could be confirmed with the odds ratio of 6. With that, I would like to, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Beate. Has anybody any questions? I have a little question. Do any, for the countries that you got information from, have any of them actually gone back and looked at the economics post-eradication? Or is it all before they've actually eradicated the virus or even thought of eradicating the virus? Has anybody who has got rid of BVD, is there any of those studies from that source? Do you understand the question? Some countries have eradicated BVD. Have any countries who have eradicated BVD then come back and shown that their economics without the uncertainty that you would have before you eradicated?
Yeah, we have a mix of both. We have modeling studies which predict the cost. For instance, United States and also France. But we have a lot of studies or countries such as Germany or Austria which not record production losses but implemented control activities. It's very heterogeneous between the countries.
Okay, it's balanced. Okay, thanks very much.